Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being with us again, right there where you are at, driving towards your job, towards school, wherever you're at. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited today. I have another guest. Last week, we had our first guest ever. I'm talking over here like we've been doing this for a long time. It was our third episode, and we had our first guest. It was a great episode. Got a lot of feedback about that episode. But this week I have another special guest, somebody that I've been knowing for a long time as well. Somebody that special to us as well. To my wife and I, know the family. Been known them for a long time. I'm gonna allow him to introduce himself.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here today. It's a privilege. It's an honor, actually. But yes, my name is Carlos. Um,
Carlos,
happily,
what?
Carlos Hernandez.
Hernandez.
Yes, Carlos Hernandez, the one and only. Yeah. So been knowing Ever for a long time. Been learning a lot from him as we've been growing together. He was actually my youth pastor.
Yeah.
And now he's our pastor. So it's definitely an honor being here.
Yeah.
I'm married, happily married.
How long?
Been going on 12 years.
12
October,
years.
be 12 years. To my beautiful wife. Gotta give kudos.
Shout out.
Down. Yeah, for sure. Love you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening and tuning in. Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
For everything. 3 beautiful kids.
3 boys.
3 boys.
Man, 3 boys.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
it's been great. 11, 8, and 6 years old.
Nice.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when you came to the youth group. And you had some battles, you were going through some things. You were raised in church though, right?
Yes, I was. Yep.
Yeah. Do you remember at what point you went astray from the things of God?
Yes, actually, I was in and out. Kind of grew up in church with my mom and stuff like that, but didn't really grow up in church. I would just go and just kind of sneak out the back door.
Just go because they'll take you.
Yeah, because they'll take me, and then I'll just pretend like I'm there and then sneak out. So, but really, when everything really kind of kicked off, when I really went astray was it's my college years.
Mm-hmm.
Went in fresh, thinking, remember I was on, I was on fire for God through one of the camps, and once I went in to college, I was trying to, battle within myself, the people, and I was able to kind of be there, kind of hang out, see what I could do, and not realize that it was like, okay.
What college was this? What?
I was in Northwood University. It was up here in Cedar Hill.
Okay.
Not too far from our house. Didn't want to go too far out.
So before you went into college, you were on fire for God.
Yes.
And when you got to college, it's kind of when you.
Yeah, it started when like in the beginning, it was kind of, was hanging, trying to push, trying to do everything I could, didn't have no mentors, or just, pretty much surround myself with, believers in Christ and brothers and sisters. So, and then slowly, instead of me turning, the people that was around myself to God, I was getting drawn into it, into the world. And
so one thing you said, you didn't have no mentors, you said. What do you think that was? What was the reason for that? Was it maybe because there wasn't nobody to kind of go to, or maybe you didn't allow yourself to be mentored? Maybe a little bit of both.
I want to say a little bit of both. I guess one played the role for the other one. Kind of, people that are around, I didn't feel comfortable, I guess, per se. And then I just didn't want to be judged or be, shamed out.
Okay. So why didn't you feel comfortable going to people?
Just pretty much just getting judged. that I was gonna get judged off the back instead of getting help. That
Mm-hmm.
instead of giving me a word of wisdom and prayer,
Yeah.
was gonna be like, "What?
Yeah.
What are you doing?"
Yeah.
You know, and then the word gets out, and then everybody knows, and then
Everybody
I'm
know.
just
Yeah.
like under hiding, going hide under a cave or
Yeah.
something. So
So, I'm gonna fast forward and then we'll go back. But how could we change that for? Because I know you work with the youth now. Actually, you work with the Ulysses. You guys work and do a great job with the youth. Um, but how can we change that where young people, that are your age, have the accessibility, have the freedom, feel comfortable to come to us, to come to their leaders about their struggles? Because I think, a lot of us grew up like that, where we had battles, we had struggles, we had things, questions, and we felt like if we took them up to our leader or somebody
mhm,
within the church, like you said, we were going to be judged or
right,
looked down upon, or the word's going to get out. So it wasn't, there was never that open door policy, right?
correct,
That I never felt an open door policy with a leader when I was a teenager or a youth or at that age range. I never felt that open door policy to go and say, I'm battling with this. So, how can, from your experience, how can we be better at that for people to come, young people come, and not just young people, just the church in general, people just battling with stuff.
yeah. No, well, honestly, man, it's just it's seeing it now firsthand. Uh, you know, the leader has to lead, and what I see just firsthand is being transparent,
Hmm.
being very transparent from the get go,
Yeah.
and being able to listen, just to listen to them and kind of take it in, and then but just an active listening where they can understand, like, hey, he's here for me,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm, you know, not because you're my pastor, but you have been showing that, it's like, hey, I'm talk the talk, walk the walk,
Yeah.
and you've been playing that firsthand. So
Hmm.
being able to see that has made it a lot easier, where the youth can kind of open up, or not even just youth, just anybody, a brother and sister, a young adult, where they can kind of just come out and just talk,
Yeah.
and you're just there listening, and kind of, it's like, hey, I feel your pain. I'm with you on this. Let's pray together. We need to fast. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what has helped, and that's something that we're seeing now.
Yeah.
It's like nobody wants to do this buffoni thing. Like, hey,
Yeah.
let's play church, and that's what we're here. So to
Yeah.
be very transparent and
Yeah.
making sure that we're here for one another.
Yeah, and what you said is key, just being vulnerable. I think there was some type of shame in being vulnerable back then. Like, I'm not going to tell you what I struggle with, because if I tell you, then my title is going to be diminished, and
Yeah,
your view of me, you're not going to see me the same if I tell you, hey, I went through that, or hey, I'm battling this, so I understand you. But the way that, and I think just not just this generation, but more this generation, because of things like technology and the freedom of speech,
right.
through these means, they're looking for people like that, and it was so easy to hide behind titles back in the day. It was so easy to hide behind pulpits and suits and ties and that sort of thing. And today it's not like that, because so many people are being transparent, not just about the things of God, but you look at the culture today, right?
Yep.
The LGBTQ community just pushing that, down our kids' throats, whether it's school, government, whatever it might be, and they're pushing them to be themselves. That's how they're painting the picture.
Exactly.
Um, be yourself. They're pushing the trans kids agenda, which is just is sickening to even think that the government itself is pushing kids to want to be trans or gay or lesbian, whatever that might be, right? And when you have that in society, and then people come to church and everybody's boxed in a world of righteousness, they're like, what's going on.
Exactly.
You know, like the world is so transparent. The world is so open. The world is like inviting, waiting to hear, like, what do you want to be? Whatever you want to be in this world, you can be, and we'll relate to you. We'll hear you. We'll love you. Cause that's the way they're saying it,
Right,
right?
right.
You know, they're saying that we're going to love on you regardless. But people come to church and it's like, everybody's playing a role. Everybody is playing, like you said, churchins, right? Stop Churching is the name of the podcast. Everybody's playing that, and then, you know, this generation, people in general, feel like they don't have a place to open up about their struggles, about their weaknesses, about what's going on in their mind or soul. And we have to make it clear to people that it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay that you struggle. It's okay that you have weaknesses. It's normal. We are human beings, right?
Right.
Nobody is exempt from weaknesses. Nobody is exempt from struggles. Everybody at every level, it doesn't matter how long person's been pastoring. Everybody has struggles. Everybody has things that they deal with because we are in this world. But you said, going back to what you were saying, so when you go to college, you didn't have a mentor. And you know, I do believe what Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good for those who love Christ, right? But I wonder how much different it would have been if you would have had that confidant, that mentor, right? Somebody that, hey, you know, I'm in college. It's a whole different world now. You know, this is what is before me. I don't know if you could elaborate on that. Maybe, you know, something that you've thought about in the years now that have gone by.
No, most definite. You know, now that I use that experience to what I went through in college, and now that I try to listen, I try to engage myself with, you know, just the youth, young adults, to that way they know, like, hey, you know, our leaders care for us. You know, the church cares. You know, we're here for them, and I seen that firsthand now. Now that when I do talk to them, it's like it's a sincere conversation. It's, you know, heart to heart. It's like, hey, I'm with you all the way. You know, so as they see that, I, you know, we can start seeing, like, you know, they're more open. Mm. You know, they'll talk. They'll just speak their mind. You know, and at the beginning, I know they're probably like, what? You know, it's kind of weird, like, because they were never, you know, taught to that. They were taught to the religion part, like, hey, hide everything.
They were never taught that, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, wear your mask. You know, how many masks can you wear?
Man, it's good.
So, you know, that's what I was, you know, and that's how I used to do it. It's like, how many masks can I wear? I'm in college, I got to wear my mask. Hey, I'm going to church this weekend because I stayed in campus my freshman year. So I was exposed to so much that I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, okay. They say like college is a whole different ball game, you know. So once I was there, I was like, okay. So,
you saw it firsthand.
Yeah, I saw it firsthand with everything. How, you know, just the people that you socialize with. You know, obviously you can depart yourself from it, but they were just so involved.
Well, yeah, it's true. You know, you can depart yourself from it, but you have to have a good foundation in order for you to be able to have that fortitude, that strength, to depart yourself from all that sin, from all that temptation. And a lot of Christian people go to secular colleges, and they have these experiences, right? And they have this temptation, and because they don't have a solid foundation, then they find themselves falling. So, and when I say foundation, I don't necessarily mean you have to know a lot about the Bible or that sort of thing. Obviously, that's key and very important. But what I'm saying is mentors, you know, people that you could go to, people that are there for you, people that you know that you could be transparent with, and they're going to pray with you and pray for you. So if anything, you know, this is an encouragement to leaders, young leaders who are listening to this. And even if you're not a young leader, but a young person, you know, find you a mentor, find you somebody that you can rely on, that you can trust, obviously. And for leaders, it's, you know, make yourself available.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to be transparent. You know, don't be afraid to show your scars. What you said right now is so key. Like, we're so good at wearing our mask, putting on our mask, right?
Yep.
what mask am I going to wear today? And that's the reality, unfortunately, of Christians, that we're so good at wearing masks. Right. I'm gonna go to church now. Let me put on my mask. I'm gonna be around the pastor. Let me put on my mask.
Exactly.
I'm around, my coworkers. Let me put on this mask. I'm at college or school. Let me put on this mask. So, that's the unfortunate state of a lot of people within the church. And it shouldn't be that way. We should be able to have, the same face. Are we going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But, we have to have the understanding that if we are transparent with people, people are going to be willing to open up to us, and we're going to be able to pour into people more.
Yep.
And that is what a leader is about. Jesus showed his weakness whenever he was at Gethsemane. He's praying like, God, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me.
Yes.
And then he goes to the disciples. He's like, hey, I'm troubled, and I'm exceedingly troubled. So I need to pray. He's showing him how weak he is in that moment, how vulnerable he is. And that he's sharing that with his inner circle.
Right.
So we're able to see, in biblically speaking, Paul, Romans chapter 7 talks about, the things that he does not want to do is the things that he does, and the things that he does is not the things that he wants, that he should do. And then later on, he talks about in Corinthians about the thorn in the flesh. So we're able to see transparency all throughout the Bible.
Exactly.
But that facade, I got my team over here giving feedback,
Yes.
and we need to mic them up.
Exactly. No, for sure.
If you want to bless us with what was it called? A podcaster pro. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, I know.
A podcaster pro. Listen, bless us. Let us know. Send us a DM. Send us a message. We're trying to get our team plugged up to microphones right now. We only have two outlets for our mics. So I'm praying for that. All right.
Amen.
Praying God touches you. But our team's over here trying to get some feedback, and they're not mic'd up. So if you don't hear the team, it's because they're not mic'd up. But my wife is here, Cassandra, Gilbert. They do a great job. Shout out to them. Appreciate you guys so much. But yeah, absolutely. We see transparency throughout the whole Bible. But so in college, what happens to you? What you start getting temptation? What happens there?
Definitely temptations. Getting with the wrong crowds. At the end of the day, it was my choice, right?
Yeah.
And I chose that. So I chose to be with the friends and just party, drink. We woke up. We were at just friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be at the dorms. So that was pretty much my freshman year. And had to make sure that we were always up. 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Get ready for soccer. So we had soccer in the morning, school, and then soccer in the afternoon.
Mm.
So it was intense, but we knew we had to make sure that we were like engaged, But once after that, I came into my sophomore year, came home for summer, throughout this, no matter where I was at, it was always in my heart, in my body. It was like just so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I knew that I should not be here. I knew I didn't belong here.
Yeah.
So I knew that my spirit was connected. It's like, Lord, I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm here.
And I always say this because for everybody that has gone astray, for us that grew up in church and go astray, we're never able to just sin right. We always feel misplaced. We always feel like we don't belong. Because that was my case, right? Grow up in church, fall astray. Mm-hmm. I'm out in the world, and I'm just, going rampage with sin and everything that you can think of. But I always felt out of place. And this is why, the Bible says that for him who has known the truth and returns back to sin, it's like a pig that returns back. It's like a dog that returns back to its vomit, right? Because we know the truth, right?
Yes.
And the reason why it's like a pig that returns to its vomit, or like a dog that returns to its vomit, is because we try to sin even harder. You know what I mean?
No, I feel you.
We try like, okay, if somebody, is going to smoke a blunt, okay, we're going to smoke too, just to try to prove something that nobody's really paying attention to. But we feel like we need to prove ourselves in sin because we don't fit in, right? We're that oddball. And it's like, I got to prove myself that I'm a sinner, you know, and it doesn't matter how much we try to prove ourselves that we are a sinner. It's like, you know, we still feel like we don't belong. We still feel like we can't plug in into the world because we've been marked. You know, when you've been in the things of Christ and you have known Christ and you go to the world, you're marked.
Yeah.
You know, you got, you're marked by the Spirit, and it doesn't matter. You know, Elises and I talked about the prodigal son last week. It doesn't matter how far you get away. You know, there's going to be a point in your life where you're going to have that prodigal son moment, you know, where the Bible says that the prodigal son came to, and he realized, I don't belong here. What am I doing here? You know, he went back to his father's house, and here we are, you know, a few years later, we always return. And unfortunately we have to go through a lot of heartache and a lot of trials and tribulations, but we come back. But, you know, again, for, you know, anybody listening to this, you know, and that has gone astray or the straddling the fence, you know, we want to tell you, like, you're never going to be comfortable sinning.
For sure.
You're never going to be comfortable sinning. You're never going to be comfortable in that world. You're never going to be, it doesn't matter how much you try to fit in. It doesn't matter how much you straddle the fence. It's never comfortable. It's never peaceful. And a lot of Christians, they straddle the fence. And when they straddle the fence, they're not comfortable, you know, but they have deceived themselves to think that it's okay. But yet they're still not living comfortable. And that is the case of a lot of people in the church, you know, that they're straddling the fence. They know they're wrong, but they have deceived themselves into thinking that it's okay. So you go back home your sophomore year. What happens?
Oh, you know, at that point, you know, I didn't feel right. Honestly, I didn't want to go back to school. I was like, man, Lord, like, it's like this, let me stay. You know, but in me, like, I was like, man, I got a scholarship. I need to play. I want to play. I love to play. That's really why I went to college from the get-go. If I'm being, you know, straight up honest.
Play soccer. To
play ball, yeah. Then if I didn't play ball, then I wasn't going to go. But when I went in and then came back to church, I remember asking the Lord, I was like, Lord, you know, I want to do things right, man. Like, I know the feeling. I know the connection when I'm with you. Like, I know, like, I feel at peace. And, you know, I want it to be different when I go back to school. So sophomore year came. I mean, I'm telling you, I was battling hard, you know, through all like camp and then half the year. And I was like, man, I'm doing it. But, you know, it was all by myself. Like nobody knew my struggles. I couldn't talk to nobody. Couldn't pick up the phone with anybody at that time, you know, text anybody like, hey man, I need prayer. I need this. You know, the only prayers that I know I was getting from my mom. But even though with my own mom, I couldn't just be like, hey mom, you know, I'm going through this. It was just like, mom, thank you. But that's when I really started hitting like the drugs up. First it was just alcohol. Yeah. Then I really started hitting the drugs. And that's when I really felt like, okay, man, I'm going more back. You know, and that's when I started, you know, once that happened, I mean, junior year, I really started seeing the picture that the devil was trying to put out there. Picture, you know, he was trying to put a picture like, hey, you're never going to get to your calling. You're never going to get to what God has put you to do and what he has for you.
The hole starts getting darker.
Yeah, because he's like, you keep falling back, like you're not good enough, you know. And I remember just straight up, you know, I was always like in a boxing match. I was like, man, I'm fighting so much. And it was just by myself. And I'm like, and I kid you not, I wanted to let it out. I wanted to reach out to somebody and be like, hey, like, I need help. I need like just some type of counseling, like somebody that can like pray with me and be there, you know. And that's how I took it. And I was like, man, how many rounds am I going to go? To what point, you know, is it going to be done? My junior year really spoke to me though. It really did. I lost a friend. Lost a good friend that we played ball together.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it kind of really hurt, man. And at that point, I mean, I was in the club with him. You know, And I had two friends with me, and I remember that moment. It's like, which way am I pulling? Am I pulling left or right?
Yeah.
And you know, I pulled left with my other friend of mine. I didn't pull right with the friend that passed away. I got dragged out to the back. My friends got dragged to the front. We were trying to figure out where everybody was at, trying to call everybody. By the time I was able to reach out to my friends, they're like, "Hey, we're on the other side of the road. We're like, okay, we're going because a fight had broke out, and it was like, hey, we ride or die together, kind of deal." And he got shot in the back and everything. And I kid you not, that night I couldn't even sleep, and it was like, I took it upon my own self. I think everything that happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I was able to see it, like, take the situation and be like, what could have been if it was me?
Yeah.
Like, sucked that it had to be this way, because when he got shot, we all got pulled out. The cops had told him, hey, if you cross that street, we're taking you in. So I couldn't cross. So I was trying to be like, if you get in your car, I'm pulling you over. So we had to walk. And then, I looked at my friend. I told him, like, dude, I'm done. I'm done with this. Like, but in my mind, I had put it myself, I'm done with the whole drinking clubbing thing.
Yeah.
And it's like that moment I took that opportunity and say, like, Lord, like, forgive me.
Yeah.
I've fallen short plenty of times, and you're still here, protecting and showing out for me. And, it's true what they say, when your mom prays day in, day out, like, you get covered and stuff like that. So,
that was just an awakening moment for you.
Yeah, it really was. It really was big, where I cut all that. Like, I don't think ever since then I even put a foot in a club anywhere. And it's so because, now that I think back of it, it's like, what did I do? Like, I did it for myself, yes, but how many people did I reach out to that were close in that circle to tell them, like, hey, man, like, dude, God loves you, dude. Like, hey, sucks that we lost a good friend, but it should be a waking call for everybody.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
I just hold it in. Why? Because I was scared. Why? Because I was kind of ashamed that they were going to look like I'm weak. Because I always had to put a face like, hey, Carlos is always down. Like, this dude, you call him up, like, we're doing this, like, he's ready to go.
Yeah. And, so death is really, it's an awakening for a lot of people, whether, however that looks like for a person, family member, or friend. It could be really a rude awakening how at any given moment, we're here and next day we could be gone. And I think I said this last time with Alicia's, we don't plan for eternity. Right. We don't think of eternity. We don't think about, we could be dead tomorrow. We don't think that way. It's a very dark thought, and we shouldn't, obviously, that shouldn't be always in our mind, but we should plan for eternity. We should plan for death, and not just in the sense of for our family to be taken care of if we pass away here on earth, but our soul. Our soul is valuable to God. The whole reason why Jesus came to die for us was to rescue our soul.
Amen. Yes.
Right. So, we forget that. We play this role that Jesus came to die for us, but Jesus came to die for this flesh. Jesus didn't come to die for this flesh. Jesus did not come to die for this body. Jesus came to die for the soul. Jesus came to die for what people don't see. Exactly. Right? People, that's what people get so caught up with the church and stuff, right? With the facades, with the masks, because it's all about what we see. But Jesus didn't come to die for that. The Bible says on many occasions, you're here today, you're gone tomorrow. Our life is like a flower, it fades away. Jesus speaks about that in Matthew chapter 6. When he's telling his disciples, right? He's telling us, why are you worried about life? Why are you worried about what you're going to wear, what you're going to eat? Why are you worried about these things of these earth? None of that matters, he says. What matters is your soul. Exactly. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Everything else will be added unto you. Right. What matters is that our relationship with God, that's ultimately what matters. But we put so much emphasis, we put so much effort, we concentrate so much energy on the things, on the earthly things of this world. And we neglect the soul. We neglect the spiritual side of things. And, that is so important. If we were heavenly minded, we would have so much more peace on earth. Yes. Because it's not about, it's Jesus didn't come to die for the earthly things. He came to die for the soul. So when when we make that connection, that it's about the soul, it's about the heavenly things, and everything on earth is taken care of. Right. But humanly speaking, we work backwards. We work first towards the things of this earth. Right. And then if I have time, I'll go to church. Then if I have time, I'll pray. Then if I have time, I'll read the Bible. Then if I have time, I'll have a devotional. And we see ourselves just battling here on earth. Yes. We see ourselves struggling here on earth. Why? And then we ask ourselves, why? Why am I going through this again? Why am I battling with this? Why is it that bad things are happening to me all the time? And, why? Because we don't have a kingdom perspective. We have an earthly perspective. And if you have an earthly perspective, everything that happens to you, you're going to think that is negative. Exactly. You're going to think that is here to kill you. Right. And it's not like that. Everything that comes our way has a purpose, like you said. And when you're kingdom minded, you know that if opposition is before you, is because God is about to do something. Yep. Because you're kingdom minded. You're focused on God. You're focused on not on things of this earth. Everything on earth, we said this last time, the natural is controlled by the spiritual, but we don't make that connection. So because we're not connected to the kingdom, we're not connected to the heavenly things. When we go through opposition here on earth, then, at that moment we shell up. We go into our shells. We go into our coping mechanisms, is what I call them, right? Whether it's depression, anxiety, drugs, alcohol, disconnected from people, disconnected from church, yes. Whatever that might look like for each individual person. But when you have that kingdom, when you're kingdom minded and your eyes are fixed on the things, not of this earth, but the things of heaven, when you go through opposition, you look at those as opportunities for the hand of God to be manifested. Yes. Right. So, it's very, it's just everything that you've gone through is what, unfortunately you don't have a mentor, you don't have somebody to go through to, but what a lot of people go through is what a lot of, young people and just people in general, not just young people, just people in general, what they go through in life, in this, up and down relationship with God, when it shouldn't be like that, because it's never that you're up or you're down. It's all about the consistency of your relationship. Yes, and in that consistency with your relationship, we're going to go through trials and tribulations. But as long as your relationship with him is consistent, then you'll keep moving forward. You will overcome those things. No, for sure. So junior year, this happened junior year when your friend passes away. Okay, so this is when I remember. We were talking about this before we started. Somebody came to me and they told me, this is what they told me. Hey, I need you to pray for this young man. He's going through a lot. He just lost a friend. That's what they told me. And then I think at that point is when either we met or we made a connection or something. Yes. Something along those lines. But that was your junior year. How old were you at that time?
I was already 19. 20.
Okay.
Yeah, because senior year I graduated 21. I graduated in 21. So yeah, I was 21. Yeah. So yeah, I was 20 years old.
That's where I remember. That's where I remember you now coming in and being connected at that point.
Right. So that's where everything took a whole turn on me. Mm-hmm. Where I started kind of really seeking the Lord. Um, and that was almost, it was pretty much almost ending like junior year. So that pushes over to like the senior year. And that's when I started coming with the church. I was trying to keep, like you were saying, a consistent relationship with God. And I know that was the only way I was able to truly find connection and truly be like, consistent, digging day in and day out.
Yeah.
And it was funny because that was the year that that's what you got to say. It's true what they say, when whatever you speak from the mouth, is power.
Yeah.
Because that was year I asked the Lord. I was like, man, Lord, like, if I get hurt or in soccer, like, I won't be able to travel. I'll dedicate more time to you, but it ain't gonna happen. Kid you not, like off season, during the season came to training camp. Like, I had said this when I was in summer here at home. When I went to training camp, it was my senior year. I was like, man, it's like give everything to it. Like let's go. I've been working hard. I was, doing summer school, working, training at home, and I was like, I was fit. Like I felt it. Like let's go. And I think the last week we training camp, that's when I got hurt, and I tore fractured my MCL, and so I was out. I was out for 3 months, and at that point I was like, why, man? Like, dude, I've been working so hard. So why you do this to me? But when I was going through rehab, I remember, and I was like, dude, you said.
You remember that prayer?
I remember that prayer. I said, man, look, you know what? Like, I want to dedicate this year to God. And I was out for 3 months. And so I was like, well, like, hey, I might not understand it right now.
Yeah.
But I know there's a purpose for it.
We make these promises to God until, and a lot of times we fail to keep them until we put in a situation where we have no option.
Right.
That was prison for me, and that was you with your injury, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's one was tough, but I was working really hard at it to get back. And I think at this time I was working, going to school, and I wasn't staying in school. I was actually commuting at this time, so I was able to go to church and everything. So I was like, my senior year, man, I want to make it happen. I want to do everything I can. And at this time, that's when I was me and my wife. But at that time, I was we were talking, kind of get to know her and stuff like that. And once I recuperated and I was actually in, it's like coach was like, "Do you ready?" I was like, "Man, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Feel good." Trainer said, "Hey, you good to go?" But I forgot everything. Everything was like, dude, what was our connection, what we had, our relationship, what we had,
the promise to God.
Yeah, the promise that you said you were going to do, and I was just focused on like getting through school, playing ball, and then getting to know Blanca. At the time, I was still going to church and trying to get with her, and at that time, I even joined the choir. I didn't do it for her, just wow, but yeah, kind of.
Are you sure?
I can't like, yeah. No, most definitely. I was like, man,
you joined the choir. Wait, I've never heard you sing.
My vocals, they're all right. No, man, they're pretty bad, but I was doing it for God. I was like, Lord, I want to get in.
You're doing it for God and for Blanca.
And for Blanca. And I was like, Lord, I was just like, Lord, you know my heart. You know where I'm at. I'm trying to stay good. I'm trying to do whatever I can, put myself in situations where, join groups. I was in a dance group too.
A dance group.
Man. Yeah, man, that dance group, at that point, it was good, man. It really like, I mean, I was one of the times I really felt connection, man.
Yeah.
Was it called the Lamb? I think it was called.
Don't remember.
But man, like I remember hitting it. Man, I kid you not. I think that was one of the first time that I really felt when they were talking about youth. I mean, I felt the spirit. I was like, I was in tune, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. But back to, when I was going with so I joined the choir. It was with my at that time, me and her were just talking, and I kid you not, like, feel good. I was like, man, I'm a graduate. I'm gonna be first time college student getting out, from the fam, um, making things happen differently.
Yeah.
I knew myself, and I wasn't in denial. I said, look, I can't be in denial. I have to really be committed. So I was trying to do everything right between me and Blanca. And I was like, Lord, I'm trying. I'm being connected. I'm joining the groups. I'm trying to stay in sync with you. And everything was going. I mean, I felt like it was going good, but I got complacent. I got comfortable. I got comfortable thinking that, like, and that's when it said, like, playing the mask, putting the mask for here, for there, thinking like, oh, I got it under control. I got it. Like, as long as I'm being real, I got it. Like, I can do it myself. And it's true, man. The devil's out there. He's like a lion, just waiting, just patiently waiting, just to see where you can slip and how you can slip. And by the time you know it, he got you. And me trying to do everything right with her, trying to bring it out there, because I know y'all talked about this, about the last podcast. And he was saying about commitment. For the girls out there, if your man ain't committed and he ain't doing it right from the beginning, he ain't serious. And I know that at that time I really was, because I was like, Lord, I want to do this right. I want to honor, her, the family, and whatnot. And I was still going through struggles. But at that time, I think that's when things hit. Before I graduated, I fell. I came short. Came out short. Doing things wrong way. And, when I was trying to do it right, it's like everything caught up to me.
Yeah.
Thinking that I was doing it right. Because we were with the youth, with people around. Everything was like, hey, we're good. We're talking. Everybody knew, like, hey, they like each other.
Yeah.
They're talking. They're trying to do the thing, but we fell short. And but every I always say this: out of every obstacle, now I see every opportunity of it. I see that there's a purpose.
Yeah.
That God has for it. Might not understand at that moment.
Yeah.
But when everything comes out, when everything plays, and with the time, you'll see, like, hey, yeah, you fell short, but look at the outcome.
Yeah.
Look where you're at now. And I was able to learn. My wife was, she was pregnant. At that time, girlfriend, she was pregnant, and it was. I kid you not. When it sings, like, when they say, like, the world sings, it's sung.
Yeah.
It's sung. Like, I was like,
felt like it swallowed you.
Oh yeah, like, it was just like everything's just like, whoa, But I was gonna be 21 already, and in my mind, I was like, man, look, I'm an adult, about to graduate. I'm trying to hustle. I'm trying to be somebody. I had goals, dreams. So I was like, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But at that moment, it was the darkest time in our lives, where I had to meet the parents. I had to tell them, what was going on, what happened, so I was like, hey, I'm like they say in Spanish, marta los pantalones,
Yeah.
Tie your pants, gotta take care of business. And that's what happened. We did everything we could. And I told her, like, look, I know the church here is one way.
Yeah.
They think we just, because I've heard it, I heard it from many people. They're like, hey, don't get around them. Don't be around them. They're going to, it's just, they're a bad Jew or something. But I told my wife, like, hey, we're going to walk. We're going to walk with our heads up.
Yeah.
And we're going to go in there and serve the Lord. This isn't stop anything. This isn't just, we go back to the world. Like, I don't want to go back there. I know how that is. It has nothing good for our future. And that's what, That's what the devil wants.
Yeah.
That's what, it's like, hey, you fell short. Like, this is big, right? Because,
Mm.
As humans, we wait the sin.
We weigh the sin. Yeah.
Sin is sin all the way
Yeah.
across. Let's just be real, right?
Yeah.
But we waited and, we know we didn't do it the right way, which, my goal was to do it the right way.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen that way. But that didn't stop me, like, to do the right thing after that.
Yeah.
Be a man,
Because you could have chose not to.
Yeah, correct. So I chose, like, we're going to do it. We're going to come to church.
Mm.
We're going to sit together.
Yeah.
And we're going to seek the Lord. Mm. And, no matter who says what, we're here for the Lord, and that's it. And He's the one that's going to restore us, and we're going to get everything. And, we did that through the whole pregnancy. And then that's when you guys, after, I think Noah was like 1 year old.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say something about that because it just speaks volumes of who you guys are. Like, we really, we love you guys. You guys are awesome, and really have seen you grown into this beautiful power couple. Beautiful kids, and you have a business and everything else. We'll probably get into that here in a bit, but at that time, I remember that, and what I remember, it's like, we got to be there for them. We got to be there for them because in my eyes, it was like we're all humans, and like you said, we all make mistakes. Humans. And not humans, humans and specifically the church tend to weigh sins, right? And frown upon certain things. And obviously the goal is to do things right. But if you make a mistake, God is a forgiving God, right? Mm-hmm. God is a God of restoration. And that's what we're in here for, to restore people's lives. Unfortunately, when young people or just people in general fall short or make a sin, the church is just there condemning.
Yep.
Judging, condemning, casting judgment, and the whys, and you shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have been careful. And I told you. And that's the last thing a person wants to hear whenever they've committed that.
Yes, for sure. I know.
I know. Like, what they need to hear is they need to hear reaffirming words. They need to hear words of encouragement. They need to hear words of life, so they won't fall back to the things of the world. And this is what I'm saying, where I'm proud of you guys and, y'all's fortitude at that time, where although y'all felt judged and felt, like you said, the world has swallowed you guys up. You guys still stayed the course in spite of all the opposition, all the talk, all the murmur. Yes. You guys continued going forward and seeking the Lord. It wasn't easy. But this is where a lot of people, go back to, well, let's just, go to the world or something. But it's important that we understand that we all make mistakes, and the way that we can be compassionate towards people is by first and foremost understanding that I'm a sinner, pointing the finger at me, right? I'm not perfect. I fall short. And when I have that understanding, when somebody falls short, then I'm able to show compassion. I'm able to show mercy. I'm able to show grace and restore their lives and lead them down the right path with love and mercy. Okay. Instead of them feeling judged and condemned. Cause I remember that part of y'all's life. It was difficult for y'all.
It was, but all glory to God, man. Everything, happens for a reason. I believe that what we went through, was for a time like this now. Mm-hmm. That we can be of a testimony. Yeah. And be there for this generation. Not obviously to, go through this, what we went through, but, educate them, give them word, love them, show support, that we're here for you so that they don't have to walk through that. Yeah. And
I don't mean to interrupt you because, one of the things that you said, and I was going to interrupt you then, but you were saying good stuff. One of the things you said then is you got complacent and you started, basically, you got too confident.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what happens with a lot of people in the things of God. We get too confident, And we get too confident in our walk. We get too confident. You have those experiences where you feel the power of God, you feel the Spirit, and okay, I spoke in tongues, or I got filled with the Spirit this Sunday, and we get confident, and we start believing that the fleshly desires, our weaknesses, have been conquered. And I think in episode 2, I was talking about sin, how, it doesn't matter our sin. It doesn't matter if we've overcome it. We still have to have a conscious mind of it, right?
Exactly.
Have that sin not over us, but walk with it in a sense of, I'm aware of it. I'm aware of this weakness of mine. And one thing that, out of this experience, that I'll let you elaborate, is, what can we tell young people, and not just about that type of thing, right? Just in general, how can a person, anybody, keep themselves from falling back into sin, right? And again, the key is to know your weaknesses and know that you can never put confidence in the flesh.
Yeah.
You can never rely on yourself.
Exactly. I mean, you pretty much nailed it in the nail right there with the hammer. And it's true, just you can't be overconfident on that. That's not going to happen again. Like, that's nothing. I
I
already
got this.
I've been saved. Like, it's not going to be there.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that sometimes, they'll hunt you.
Yeah.
Slowly. They'll wait for an opportunity to come back and then just spike in there a little bit. And then by the time you know it, you're just like, oh, it's okay. And then you'll go back to it.
Yeah.
Slowly, when you're like, oh, it was just a little time that doesn't bother me. I'm good. But in reality is, you said it earlier as well, is just keeping that relationship between you and God.
Yeah.
Seeking the Lord with, with everything, with all your heart, with all your might. And really just surround yourself with people with the same vision.
Yeah.
With the same, that, hey, they're here for God. They want to seek God,
Yeah.
That way, you have brothers in Christ that you can kind of like, ask for help, pray with each other.
Yeah.
And, it's a key. And I'm seeing that now. And I've been seeing that, prior years to where, people that I surround myself, I'm able to, be stronger. I'm able to like communicate. I'm able to pray more, see what's going on, in the preachings. And I'm like, man, that's so good. Like it speaks to my life. So when I'm around my brothers in Christ here, at church or out of church, because it's not just at church, but it's out of church, that it's still the same. And, and I'm know like, hey, we're in it together.
Yeah. 100%. So that situation happens in a few months go by. I think, Noah's born, your firstborn, and he's a little bit older now at this time. And I remember, my wife and I, don't remember the timeline too well, but I remember us working on putting a committee together, people to come help us with with leading the youth. And I remember telling my wife, her, I want to get Carlos and Blanca. And she was like, okay, why? And I was like, because their experience is really going to help young people. So I made it an effort to get you guys involved. Because I saw you like being an outcast, kind of sort of like, and this is so key, for young couples in the church that are married and they have kids and they're young in their 20s, they, a lot of times they don't have a place because you're married, you got a kid, you have kids, a kid or whatever. So you don't fit in with the adults and you don't fit in with the young people. You don't fit in with the young adults. It's like they don't have a place,
Right.
But besides that, I felt like I saw, what you had. I've always told you there's a calling over your life, and Blanca as well. But I wanted to get you guys involved into that because I felt what you guys had to offer was going to be something powerful to the generation. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. No, like exactly like who you were saying, how when you called us in, I kid you not, within that time, I was asking the Lord, I was like, Lord, you know, I'm going through it. You know, hey, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. It's fine. Whatever people think of me. But what the supporting thing is what you think of us. You know, at this time it was, you know, us three. And I was like, I'm in it, you know, with my wife, my son. I was like, use us where you need us, use us. And at the time it just felt like, dude, ain't nobody gonna wanna put y'all anywhere. You know, I don't even think my wife was even in the choir no more. Um, and then it just stayed like that. And I was just asking the Lord, you know, I can't sit down, man. I can't just stay sitting down. I was like, I have to do something for your kingdom. Like, if you have called me, show me. And within, like, I, you know, can't say exactly, but within the time, it was just perfect timing. And you reached out. You guys reached out, and I was so surprised. And I was like, I looked at my wife. I was like, hey, they want us to help. Like, this is God. Like, we have to. I was like, even if it's just to in the little things, you know, it's like, you know, if I can be faithful in the little things, you know, in the big things, God's gonna put more. You know, it's like, hey, you're faithful in the little small things. You know, I know it's gonna work out better. And
hold on, I gotta say something about
yeah,
that.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
You know, just for you to have that mentality, that approach, I could tell you this, because I seen your progress, you know, to where you're at now and how God has blessed you and opened so many doors for you. But listen, that mentality, you know, I just need to be faithful in the little, you know, the lot God is going to take care of.
Right.
But unfortunately, in this generation, you don't see that. You don't see people wanting to be faithful in the little. You know, you don't see this generation. You don't see them wanting to, because it is such a fast paced world.
Yes.
You know, anybody can blow up on Instagram fast. Anybody can blow up on TikTok fast, on, you know, YouTube by having a whatever video that just blows up, and you know, and you could get instantly, you know, social media famous or whatever that might be, right? And you know, a lot of people come with that mentality to the church, or within the church, we have that same mentality. But biblically speaking, right? Jesus says you have to be, the Bible says you have to be faithful in little. When you're faithful in little, he'll put you over a lot. That mentality goes a long way.
Yep.
Because we should have that mentality in every season. Like, you know, as you grow, people don't understand that as you grow in the things of Christ, and, you know, you get a title, another title, that title that you got now is still little compared to the title that somebody else has.
Right.
Because it's not about a title. It's not about position. It's about serving.
Exactly.
And people get caught up with the titles. People get caught up with the positions, right? It's about simply serving the kingdom of God, because everybody that serves in the kingdom of God is valuable. Everybody is equally valuable to God. But, you know, unfortunately, many people don't put emphasis in the little, you know, because they want the lot quick. And from a perspective of, you know, in the Christian world, where somebody goes and gets a degree, you know, they go to CFNI, or they'll go to SAGU, or they'll go to, you know, whatever Bible school. They'll come out with a degree, and they want that degree to open the door to a position, right? They'll want that, or they'll want their experience, whatever it might be, to open. And I'm not saying that it won't, because that's all very delicate to the calling and what God has for you. But my question would be, have you been faithful in the little, right? Throughout the seasons that you've been living, have you been faithful in the little? Because the little is what prepares you for the lot.
Exactly. No, for sure.
You know, the little prepares you for the lot. If you're not faithful with the little, you cannot be faithful over a lot.
Boom.
You'll mess it up.
Exactly.
You'll screw it up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the key word is stewardship. It's being a good steward over what you have in your hands now. Finances, relationships, positions in the church, callings, whatever it might be, wherever you're serving, right? If you're serving in whatever area, right? Media, wherever, an unknown area, cleaning the church, be a good steward over it. Be a good steward. Do it the best.
Exactly. Yes.
Do it like the Bible says, do everything like you're doing it for God, right? And when you have that mentality, this is where I'm at now. I'm gonna do it like if I'm doing it for God, regardless of whatever comes, then God will open the doors. God would guide you. God will put you in the right places in every area of your life. And I'm telling you, because I've seen that evolve in your life, and I've seen that in my life, where we didn't start off right. Even in the secular world of finances, you didn't start off right with a good job or whatnot.
Oh no.
But you were faithful in the little, and God progressively puts you over the lot. So you go from, going from, making a mistake, right? Church terms, with now your wife, to the position where you're at now. People wouldn't imagine that.
No, they wouldn't have.
Yeah. But okay. So I just wanted to add on about that, because that's a great mentality to have. I didn't know that you thought that, let me go in there, even if it's little that we have to serve, because you didn't know the plans that we had for you. Like,
No, for sure. Yeah, I didn't know. I just thought it was just like, hey, we need your help to set us up,
yeah,
or stuff like that, But I was just like, it's a door that opened. It's just a small door that opened. Didn't think how much of a blessing it was going to be. Not just in the secular things, but most important in the spiritual way.
yeah,
For my family and I, and I was able to see that right away, and just be so thankful, just grateful. Hey Lord, like thank you, to where you were like, hey, do you want to give a class? Man, I was like, yes, man. Like,
was that the fishing rod?
yeah, yep. Remember, so yeah, man, I was just so grateful in the opportunity that I was like, okay, Lord, it's a time, it was a process. I didn't know it. I was just growing, with the teachings and at church, and at that moment, I was just focusing on what can I do to get better.
Yeah.
Now, my mentality has changed from a boy to a man. That was a whole different ballgame. It's like I gotta, care for my wife. I gotta provide for my wife, for my kid.
Yeah.
Where am I gonna be at? I need to provide a home.
Mm-hmm.
So within all that time, all that was just like trying to balance it.
Yeah, a lot.
Trying to figure out like what we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was like, I just want to serve. Like that's what I want to do. Like whatever I can, let's make it happen. And time came on. We were growing as camps. Man, camps were awesome.
Yeah,
they were real good, man. It was huge
blessings.
blessing,
Yeah,
for sure. And that's how everything came out, man. Struggle after struggle. It was not even struggles, but it was just the next stepstone.
Yeah.
We escalated a step, and there was opportunities like, okay, next step, where we're going to be at. And that's how it played out to, with my wife and I, and be able to, okay, where we're going to be at now. What are we going to do? And that time as we were serving with you guys, our finances were like struggling.
Yeah.
But I could not show it. I had to play a mask.
Yeah.
I couldn't let the world know that I'm struggling. I was working at Omni, working crazy hours.
Yeah.
Thank God that the door opened, but didn't know where I was going to be at. But mentality in the circular world was, hey, like I had goals, and I said I had goals. So I had dreams to where I wanted to be at. And in order for my dreams to work, I had to have goals.
Yeah.
In order for my goals to work, I had to put action. So actions. So actions without goals are just goals. Goals without a dream or vision is just a vision. So you have to put all three to play.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, and to try to just climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah. Faith without works is dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, that's how I started and worked my way up, trying to figure out like, hey man, we got to get a home. At this point, man, I was staying with my in-laws.
Yeah.
I was staying with my in-laws and trying to figure out like, man, I need to get a place for myself. Like now we're helping, I want to make sure I'm I'm sure it's a good testimony. So we were going at it, and thankfully God, presented an opportunity where we were able to build our home. With my father-in-law that I love so dearly, man of God, and has a great heart.
Yeah.
He was able to help us, build our home, and that's how we started growing. And I was able to see like
The favor of
the
God.
favor of God, yes. And I was like, Lord, you're doing things, and sometimes we didn't realize it, right? Because we're just focused on other things that we don't see what He's doing. But as my mother was, law would always tell me, like, hey, the little things you're doing, God's opening doors here.
Yeah.
Keep being faithful as much as you can. Put God first. Pray, and then being a good example for the youth at that point as well.
Yeah.
And
I remember we were working at Omni. So obviously hotel hours, that's crazy.
oh yeah,
So I remember that juggle that you had, like, man, I can't make it to this event. I can't go to church, or I can't do this, because it was crazy hours. And but I remember your heart, your effort, you wanted to be there, and your desire. And I tell you this because I've seen in a lot of people, where a lot of people allow, now to this time you already lived through a few of these scenarios, but a lot of people would allow that job to consume them and to overtake them, to drift them away from their relationship with God. Right. Where did you ever feel that way at Omni?
I did at a point where my mindset kind of was like, hey, I got to put a lot of hours. I got to put hours so I can make the money, to make ends meet or whatnot.
Yeah.
And as I was doing that, I was like, not, like I said, you get comfortable, then you're like, oh, I'm going to church on Sundays though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm praying a little bit.
Well, it's like, it's what I've said before. You pray for things, doors open up, and that was your Isaac.
Yes.
Right. You pray for it. Like, now you're there. You got into Omni. It wasn't the best opportunity, but now I know I think you were a manager, super manager.
Yeah. So I went from a supervisor to a manager for a restaurant, and then I moved up to manager banquets, and became a captain, which captain there is like,
it's up there.
Dream job.
It's up there. World. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that, but a lot of people would get so caught up with that they wouldn't be willing to sacrifice it. So I remember, like I said, I remember that season where, you were having that battle, like, trying to juggle, right, your spiritual life with your work life. But I remember you got to the point where it was like, okay, what's going to happen here?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, once that time when it happened, and I don't want to take so much time, but we've been praying for a minute. We've been praying, things happen within that time frame that were deep. And I didn't want to let it go. I didn't want to, because
you didn't want to sacrifice that.
I didn't want to sacrifice it. That's true. I didn't. Money was too good. Money was great.
Yeah.
And I wanted to keep a lifestyle. And I was like, if I let this go, then I'm not going to be where I need to be. And at that moment, my wife was like, hey, we're going to choose. But I knew within myself, I knew in my spirit, I knew it was like, dude, you got to let it go. And I didn't want to. So God gave me, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say He gave me two shots. He said, 1, you leave in your own will. 2, I'll take care of it. So I was trying to do 1. I was doing everything. I kid you not, had the best managers there, man. Best, director there. And he was like trying to help me. I told him what was going on, and he helped me. He understood. He's like, dude, look, so you don't have to leave. I help you. Let work less and keep the job. He's like, I'll work with your schedule, everything. So in my mind, I was like,
this is God.
This is God. He's helping me out, like he's making it happen. And at this time I was already, working in the construction side too, and trying to do my own gig and help with the father-in-law and start doing the remodeling and everything. But as that was happening, it was still like I was still locked in. Like, even though I worked like 3 days out of the week, I was still putting crazy hours in those. I was trying to milk it.
I remember that.
And but it all came down where it was the last time where I think everything came down where it's like, you didn't let it go. And I knew that hit me hard. I was like, I don't want to talk about this right now. But I let it go, and I did like, man, I'm good, man. I'm working both jobs, making money. This side, I'm building it up. I'm building the business up, but I need some money to help me build it.
Yeah.
So that was my mindset. And it happened where it was like before COVID hit, where, kid you not, think that was a moment where I was gonna, I don't know if I ever shared this with you. That moment, I think I was a goner. I was gone. It was happening at work. I started feeling like I was drinking coffee, Red Bulls, busy week. So I came into help. Wasn't eating. I was, trying to put in everything I could, work hard. And the last day was a Sunday. My heart was racing, but I thought it was normal. I was like, oh, man, just the adrenaline. We're busy.
That Red Bull was kicking in.
Yeah, it was kicking in hard. And then, kid you not, like I hadn't ate nothing. I was just drinking coffee, Red Bulls, Monsters, anything that can just keep me going.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what was going to take effect to where I felt like my heart was about to explode.
Yeah.
And then called my wife, and I was like, babe, I was already like, hey, I love you. Like, take care of the kids. Like, I think this is it for me. Like, she's like, what? Are you crazy? What are you talking about? And I was like, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I don't think I'm going to make it. And I think I made it down the hall. And boom, I just collapsed. Hit ground, hit the floor.
This is an Omni.
This is an Omni, yeah. And I don't even know how long it took, but I was out for a minute. I was gone for a minute, and I didn't understand. By the time, I remember just telling the lady, I was like, help me. And I just hit just straight, like just collapsed. And at that moment, I was praying when I was trying to get close to get some help. I was praying. I was like, Lord, forgive me. But I was saying all the prayers. I was saying all the prayers. I was like, man, I'm going to be safe today if anything happens. And that happened, man. And, they took me in. I went to the hospital. They checked me. They thought I was on drugs and whatnot. I wasn't, man. It's crazy. I don't even think this even is. I didn't know it exists, but, I didn't know you can caffeine overdose.
Yeah.
So they were like, dude, your heart was being so crazy that you could have popped the vein. You would have just been done.
Jesus.
But when that happened, my boss was like, hey, take a couple of weeks off. And as soon as that happened, COVID shut down.
Wow.
COVID shut everything down.
Oh, okay. So let me say this. Like, how many times God tells us to do something, right? And in our mind, we keep trying to make excuses for things.
Yeah, make sense of it.
Yeah, make sense of it. Like, but it's all right. It's a job. Like, it's not, I needed to provide. And here is the basis of our walk. We walk by faith and not by sight.
Right.
There's going to be a point in your life where you have to take a step of faith.
Yes. And
we are so good at speaking about faith. We get so religious. We know all the verses about faith. Peter walked on water and faith this, faith that. I got faith until we have to sacrifice our Isaac. Yep. Right. Until it hurts.
Yeah. No.
Until it's like, listen, and I always say this, it's from God if it hurts. If it is from God, this is your confirmation that it is from God. If God is asking you to let go of something and that something hurts, that's from God.
That's from God.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So somebody hearing this right now is like, God has been telling you to let go of something, and you don't want to let it go. You're trying to make up excuses for it, and if it hurts for you to let it go, it means that it's from God. Think about how much it hurt Abraham to take his son up the mount, right, and to just think that he was going to sacrifice him. Right. But he was willing to do it because he knew. He tells Isaac, he tells him, he says, well, later on in Hebrews, he says he knew, the Bible says in Hebrew 11, he knew that God, who gave him the son, will also be able to resurrect him if he wanted him to sacrifice him. Right. So that was his confidence. His faith was his confidence. Right. But many times we make up these excuses, we make up this reason and trying to make sense of things, and just trying to bargain with God.
Yes, yes.
Listen, God would never bargain with something that he wants you to release, because what he wants to give you is much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're trying to bargain with God to keep something that is going to either be harmful to our spiritual lives, be harmful to our to within our marriages, within our families, within the church community. It's going to be harmful to us. And God's saying, give it to me, because you're going to end up hurting yourself. And a lot of times we're just unwilling, and we just want to, but God, it's mine. But God, you gave it to me. And yes, he did give it to you, but he gave it to you for a season.
Exactly.
And now he's wanting it back because he wants to give you something different.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to see that.
Yeah.
It is hard. It's hard to let it go. And that's what my wife told me. She's like, it's your time to go. And I didn't understand, but when everything happened, she's like, well, now you knew that he gave you the opportunity, but you still wanted to be stuck with it. And now, something had to happen for you.
Yeah. And it's not like that situation. That's not a punishment from God.
Yeah, no.
That's a consequence of our actions.
Yes.
You needed the Red Bull. You needed the caffeine to be doing 2 jobs, to be doing the Omni, to be doing, what you were starting to endeavor in. You needed that. And obviously, running on the time of sleep that you're running, and, you forget to eat and whatnot.
Exactly. No, exactly. And I was able to understand. I was like, I came to myself like, Lord, you knew I was not going to let it go. You know that I was just too deep in. But, at that point, I was able to start seeing differently. Yeah. It's like I started getting more involved in the business, started putting like all 100% in. And I was like, hey, Lord, like this is a new season for me.
Yeah.
I am scared, but I'm going to put all my trust in you.
Yeah.
I knew, and I think this is in Philippians 4:12, and I'm gonna just kind of abbreviate, but it was like, hey, I know what it is to have a lot, I know what it is to have a little.
Yeah.
And at that point, I knew it's like, where you started, it was low,
yeah, and
when you climbed the ladder, you saw a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I know when it's to be full and when to be hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4:13, it's my favorite one. And like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Mm-hmm. So, and I put that to heart. I said, Lord, I know. And
a lot of people don't read the context of that verse.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm going to go, and conquer the world. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go and do that. But Paul is saying prior to that, look, I know what it is like to be on top.
Yes.
I know what it's like to be on the bottom. I know what it's like to be in between. I know what it's like to be full. I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to have an abundance. I know what it's like not to have anything.
Yes.
But regardless of the circumstance, whether I have a lot, I can do all things through Christ. Whether I have a little, I could do all things through Christ. Because people don't understand that if you have a lot, this is what we were talking about earlier. If you weren't being a good steward over the little and now you have a lot, it's going to be destructive to you. So, we can do all things to Christ. What is he saying? That we can be good stewards over the little and we can be good stewards over a lot. We can be joyful in the little and we can be joyful in the lot, because we know that there's a lot of people that have a lot, but they have no peace. They have no joy. So being able to have a lot and being able to do all things through Christ simply means like, I know to be joyful and to have peace with the little and with the lot. So it's very important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You pretty much said it right there, man, that we were able to have that peace. We were able to understand, like, okay, babe, like we're full on and us doing remodeling and us doing all the new construction, that we're going to have peace through everything that he puts us our way. And whatever we do, we're going to have favor. We're going to put it all in God. We're going to pray about it. We're going to ask him, hey, you take full control. And, and I mean, within myself, just humanly, I was like, Lord,
how's this going to happen?
Like, how's this going to happen? Because I'm starting from zero, like zero, like
no experience either,
like no full experience, no nothing. Like, this is something that I like to do. I just kind of knew the ins and outs. So,
this is about the remodel business.
Yeah. Yes. This is when it started kicking off. This is where, I was day in, day out researching, seeking.
Now YouTube comes in clutch.
Oh yeah, it sure does. It does. And then, just meeting the right people.
How to replace a water faucet.
Right? Get in there, get dirty. But it helped a lot. It really did. Just connecting with the right people, getting, I mean, for a period of time, I went to work with my father-in-law, and I told him, like, hey, I just want to understand the business. I want to understand the business inside and out. From
again, to finish. Being faithful in the little.
Yes. And that has played a big role.
Yeah.
And we have been able to see that. That's why we know it's like when there's the good times, we're joyful, we're grateful, we're in peace. And when there's a small time, we're still grateful, we're still joyful, we're still seeking sin. Because I know it's like, Lord, your time is always the right time.
Yeah.
And you do everything the right place at the right time. You put the right people that we need at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So we've been able to go through that and see what he has done in our lives now. And I know now, where we're at, we had, by this time we already had our second child and our third child. And now we're just busy.
Yeah.
And with ministry and everything. But all that has helped me grow, like, spiritually, mature spiritually. Is what I say.
And you're the business, obviously your model business that's taken off. But going back to what I was saying earlier, when God is asking you to sacrifice something, it's because he wants to give you something better. And I mean, that whole story right there is just the testament of that.
Yes.
Because you were unwilling to let it go. You finally did let it go. And now you see the fruit of letting it go, because now you don't have hotel hours. You do your own schedule.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm like, Carlos, let's go for lunch. We'll go for lunch.
Make it happen.
Let's make it happen. You're serving at church. Obviously you're doing your own thing. You have control over your life. That experience at Omni was obviously instrumental. It prepared you, it prepared you. But now God has you in a different season where you're a business owner. You're a boss.
Yes.
But everybody wants to be the boss, but nobody wants to be faithful in the little. Everybody wants to be a preacher, but they don't want to be faithful in the little. Everybody wants to be a pastor. They don't want to be faithful over the little. Everybody wants to be the youth pastor, but they don't want to be faithful over the little. And that's a conversation we had earlier, but it's so key to everything in life, to be faithful in the little, be faithful in what you have now. What you have now is what God is giving you. That story, when Elijah, right, comes to the widow only had a little bit of oil and a little bit of dough. That's all she had. And Elijah said, go make me a cake. And he says, go make it first for me. And she said, but this is all I have. I was going to cook this, and then my son and I were going to die. And the Bible doesn't say this, but basically it's saying this. All that is what you need for your son and me to survive during this season. But first you have to sacrifice the first fruits to God. So she has to move in faith in cooking for the man of God first, knowing that the rest is going to be enough, not only for the future, but in that sitting.
Right,
you
right.
know, where she's thinking this, like, so let's think about this. That little was going to be enough for just one meal for them, for the widow and the
Also,
son.
right.
But the man of God says, make it for me first. And when you make it for me, then make it for yourself. You'll have enough. She has to have the faith and the confidence that what she does first, it has to go to God, right? And so many times God gives us the little and we're not faithful over that little. We're not giving God, you know, the first fruits. We're not
Right.
giving our God the best. We're not saying that, you know, they're calling us for overtime and we're saying, yeah, I'll be there when we know, you know, we have to serve or we have to be at, we not have to be at church, but you know, there's something going on that will profit our spiritual lives.
Exactly.
But we rather go, you know, put in the overtime. We'd rather go do something else instead of giving God first what belongs to him,
Amen.
right? And then allowing God to take care of the rest. So when the widow moves in faith and does that, they they never had lack. They always had what they needed. But again, you know, unfortunately, many people want to work backwards. You know, they wanna say, man, listen, if that widow would have said, what's wrong with you? I'm gonna make me my food for my son and me, and I'm gonna be done.
Exactly. No,
You
you're
know,
right.
and that's a lot of our mentality with God, right? When God is asking us to sacrifice, when God is asking us to give him the first fruits of our time. When I speak about first fruits, listen, I'm not just talking about money. I'm not talking about your tithes. I'm talking about your relationship. I'm talking about first fruits of your, you know, day. You know, how does that look like? It looks different for every individual. Not that you
Right.
have to pray in the morning. It's great if you do, but find time to pray.
Yes.
Find time to seek God. Find
Absolutely.
time to read the word. Find time to be faithful in what you have, and God will put you over a lot. And again, you know, that's what I've seen in your story, and that's why I wanted to have you on because, you know, whether it's a position in church or whether it's in the secular world, you know, being successful, people always want to know the keys, right?
Yeah.
How did how did you do it? How did you do it with this business? How did you do it with this you know, with ministry? How did you get it to get on top? And it's like, yeah, there's keys to it, you know, obviously, but the keys is really what we all know, and it's just being faithful to God,
Yes.
you know, putting God first, being faithful over the little. God would take care of the rest. And, you know, you'll hear me say this probably a lot through this podcast, Matthew 6:33, seek first God and everything else will be added unto you. And that's just the rule of life that I've learned to live by. And when you do that, God takes care of the rest.
Amen. No, absolutely. That's right. Those are keys.
Yeah.
If you want to know the keys,
If
those
you
are
want
the
to know
keys.
how Carlos got so successful,
How we're making it happen. Those are definitely keys. And I couldn't, honestly, I really couldn't do it without,
because I don't want to put his business out there, but this man's building houses and
yeah,
remodeling
we
houses.
are, man. We're trying to escalate. We're trying to make it, we want to, one thing that I always say, is a slogan that say, hey, we're building the future, restoring the past.
Ooh, that's good.
So, as I'm doing that in a circular, I always say, okay, Lord, I'm doing it that here in
Yeah,
the world, but I want to do it for kingdom.
yeah.
I want to do it for the kingdom. I want to restore the past for the
Mhm,
people and
mhm.
build future leaders.
That's
King
good.
minded man.
Yeah,
I appreciate you for giving me that book for my birthday.
yeah,
From Tony Evans.
yeah. Kingdom
It's
minded. Yeah,
been a blessing.
yeah.
Haven't read it all, but as I skim through it, it's speaking life,
Hmm.
you know, speaking truth, and same thing with my wife. I mean, you know, I thank God that He put her in my place, in my way, the time that I needed it to happen,
Hmm.
because I couldn't be the man that I am today without her.
Yeah,
I mean, woman has helped me through. I mean, she's been there through thick and thin.
yeah,
Through my worst,
yeah.
and through our glories.
Hmm.
So I always tell her like, man, babe, our story's like a fairy tale.
Yeah. It's
It's
your own fairy tale.
yeah, it's my own fairy tale. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's amazing that we can have this and what we have built,
Hmm.
but and not be greedy, not keep it,
Yeah.
but share it out there.
Yeah.
Spread the gospel. You know, as in the spiritual, at church, in the world, inside of church and outside of church.
Yeah.
And that's always my goal now. It's like, Lord, I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference. I want to be a great leader out there, as I'm learning, but empower people.
Yeah.
Empower them to be somebody in life, to be able to find their calling, to seek the Lord truthfully, as I've been doing it. So now I know what it is. I know what it is to find Christ. I know what it is to have a relationship with Him, a day in and day out. A gun is like, everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a story that's worth telling.
Yeah.
For people out there, people that are hurting in so many different ways, that your story makes an impact to others. My story is going to make an impact to others.
Yeah.
And I've seen that slowly, because I've always asked myself, I'm like, Lord, am I being a good steward what you have given me to others? Am I putting the gospel out there? Am I connecting with people? Or am I just holding it in and not sharing it and not pushing it out there? And I seen that, and it's like, I think I'm not, but when people come out, it's like, hey man, thank you. Just the word, just thank you. I was like, okay, Lord, you're confirming with me, like,
yeah,
hey, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely things will get better.
Yeah.
You'll get what you need to get, where
Yeah.
you need to be.
Yeah.
So
Amen. Appreciate you coming on.
man, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we are, like I said, we're so proud of you guys. You guys are amazing. Just a testament of how God restores, how God, completes, how God just moves in a special way. This is a marathon, right?
Yes.
It takes time, to escalate, to grow, right? And I'm speaking about growth. I'm speaking about maturity. It takes time, but, I believe this. I believe that, what you said right now is keep giving what we have. If we give to this generation what we have learned from our mistakes, from the mistakes of our older generation, our parents' generation, right. This generation will be set up for greatness, and I believe that they will set up for greatness at a much faster pace than ourselves.
Yes,
because we had to take the long route, right? When the children of Israel got rescued, Moses goes to rescue them from Egypt. Obviously, they had to go through that journey, but there was a generation that didn't grow up. There was a generation that grew up in the desert. There's a generation that grew up in Egypt. There's a generation that grew up in the desert, but there's a generation that grew up in the promised land. Right. And it was essential for the stories to be told of what happened in Egypt and in the desert. So that generation in the promised land, right, can know really what's going on. So for us, we understand that, we've been through some things, but giving to this generation that's coming up in the promised land, which I speak of our children, that generation, and not just that generation, but, Gen Zs and XYZs, whoever else.
After that.
Yeah. And millennials, everybody, right? If we are able to give them what we've been through, then, they'll be set up in a much better place than we were. And that's what it's about. So appreciate you coming on, sharing this knowledge and sharing us your story. We really appreciate you guys. The Hernandez family.
Yes.
All right, guys, this is it for this episode. We hope to see you on the next one. God bless.
God bless you guys.